The next time your life suddenly becomes uncomfortable, do not panic before you ask a deeper question. What if the pressure you are feeling is not meant to destroy you? What if it is the unmistakable sign that God has begun moving things that no human hand could ever move? Most people pray for wealth, but very few recognize the season that comes before it. They expect comfort, yet God often begins with separation. They expect applause, yet God often begins with silence. They expect immediate answers, yet God starts by exposing every false foundation they have been standing on. That is why so many people walk away from their greatest season. They mistake divine preparation for personal defeat. If you have been watching opportunities disappear, relationships change without explanation, and your heart grow restless in ways you cannot fully describe, do not be too quick to believe that your future is slipping away. Sometimes God removes what can no longer carry your destiny before He entrusts you with what can transform your life. The people who underestimated you cannot stop what God has already decided. The voices that mocked your faith cannot cancel what He has already prepared. Stay attentive, because when God starts doing these things, your circumstances may look confusing, but your future is quietly moving toward abundance. What feels like a setback today may become the very evidence tomorrow that God was leading you into a season of provision, influence, and unexpected increase that no one around you saw coming. There is a reason God sometimes allows you to outgrow places where you once felt comfortable. It is not because He wants to punish you, but because the next level of your life cannot be built on the expectations of people who only know the old version of you. Have you noticed how some conversations no longer satisfy your spirit? Have you wondered why certain opportunities that once excited you suddenly leave you feeling empty? That is not confusion. It is transformation. God is changing your appetite before He changes your circumstances. He knows that if your heart remains attached to what is small, you will never be ready to carry what is great. This is why the season before increase often feels lonely. Friends become distant. Doors close without warning. The support you counted on begins to disappear. It hurts because you are human, but do not mistake isolation for abandonment. God is not removing people to leave you empty. He is clearing space for blessings that cannot fit into the life you used to live. Every disappointment that pushed you to your knees instead of your pride became another step toward the future He is preparing. Every betrayal that forced you to depend on God instead of human approval became hidden training for greater responsibility. Wealth entrusted by God is never just about possession. It is about stewardship. Before He places abundance in your hands, He teaches your heart not to be controlled by fear, bitterness, or the opinions of people. That is why your current struggle has purpose. While others believe you are losing, God is quietly teaching you to think differently, to trust more deeply, and to recognize that your source has never been a job, a person, or a lucky opportunity. Your source has always been God alone. When that truth becomes stronger than your fear, you are no longer waiting helplessly for your future. You are standing in the very place where God prepares people to receive what they once thought was impossible. The next sign is one that almost everyone misunderstands because it arrives wearing the disguise of hardship instead of celebration. God begins exposing every hidden attachment that has quietly been controlling your heart. It is uncomfortable because the things you once leaned on begin to shake. The plans you thought were guaranteed suddenly become uncertain. The people whose approval once meant everything to you become strangely silent. You start asking questions that have no immediate answers. Why is this happening now? Why does it feel like everything familiar is changing at once? Yet beneath those questions, something extraordinary is taking place. God is teaching you a lesson that cannot be learned through comfort alone. He is breaking your dependence on temporary things so your confidence can rest entirely in Him. Wealth that arrives before this lesson often becomes a prison. It feeds pride, fear, and endless anxiety because the person believes their security comes from what they own. But when God prepares someone for lasting increase, He first proves that their peace cannot be purchased, their identity cannot be stolen, and their future cannot be controlled by the opinions of people. That process feels painful because it touches the deepest parts of your soul. But it is also one of the clearest signs that heaven is working where human eyes cannot see. Think about the seasons when you felt overlooked. You worked with integrity while others took shortcuts and seemed to move ahead faster than you. You stayed faithful even when no one applauded your effort. You remained honest when dishonesty appeared to bring quicker rewards. There were nights when you wondered whether doing the right thing was even worth it. There were moments when discouragement whispered that compromise would be easier than patience. But every decision to remain faithful was shaping a foundation strong enough to carry the weight of future blessings. God is not searching for people who simply desire wealth. He is preparing people who will not lose themselves when wealth finally arrives. Character is built in hidden places, not public celebrations. Integrity grows when no one is watching. Trust becomes real when nothing around you makes sense. Those unseen victories are never wasted. They are the invisible pillars supporting the future God has already seen. Even when you cannot, perhaps the hardest part has been watching people misunderstand your silence. Some assumed you had given up. Others believed your quietness meant weakness. Some even celebrated your struggles, convinced they were witnessing your downfall. They created stories about you without ever asking what you were carrying. They judged your chapter while knowing nothing about the pages that came before it. That kind of pain cuts deeply because betrayal from strangers is one thing, but betrayal from familiar faces leaves wounds that are harder to explain. Yet even here, God is doing something remarkable. He is teaching you that your value was never meant to be measured by human recognition. If your confidence rises and falls with people's opinions, your peace will always remain fragile. But when your confidence is rooted in God alone, criticism loses its power to define you. You stop chasing acceptance from people who cannot see what God has already declared over your life. There is another reason this season feels so intense. God is changing the way you think before He changes what you possess. Many people pray for overflowing provision while continuing to think from a place of fear, scarcity, and defeat. They expect abundance while expecting disaster at the same time. But God knows that a fearful mind cannot enjoy a blessed life. Even if abundance were placed into fearful hands, anxiety would quickly consume the joy it was meant to bring. That is why He patiently transforms your perspective. He teaches you to stop interpreting every delay as rejection. He teaches you that closed doors can be protection instead of punishment. He teaches you that waiting is not wasted when He is the one directing your steps. Slowly, almost without noticing, your heart becomes steadier. Situations that once filled you with panic now drive you toward prayer. Problems that once stole your sleep now become opportunities to witness God's faithfulness again. This transformation is priceless because it prepares you to carry future blessings without being controlled by future fears. Do not underestimate what God is doing during the quiet seasons. Seeds grow beneath the surface long before anyone sees a harvest. Rivers carve valleys without making announcements. Mountains are formed through processes that most people never witness. In the same way, God often performs His greatest work where applause cannot reach and where human recognition does not exist. While others measure progress by visible results, God measures preparation by invisible transformation. Every moment you chose faith over despair, every time you forgave instead of becoming bitter, every prayer whispered through tears when no answer seemed to come, none of it escaped His attention. Those moments were not delays in your story. They were the very reason your story is becoming strong enough to carry the blessing that is approaching. When God begins stripping away everything that competes for your trust and teaching you to depend on Him alone, do not fear the process. It may feel like loss today, but it is often one of the clearest signs that He is preparing you for a season of provision, influence, and lasting wealth that will arrive at exactly the right time. Then something begins to happen that is almost impossible to explain with ordinary words. God starts closing doors that you desperately wanted to walk through. And at first, it feels like one disappointment after another. You prepare with all your strength, yet the opportunity slips away. You invest your time, your energy, even your emotions, only to watch everything come to an unexpected stop. You begin asking, God, why would you allow me to come this far only to leave me here? But what if the closed door is not evidence that God has ignored your prayer? What if it is evidence that He heard every word and refused to let you settle for something beneath His purpose? Human beings naturally mourn closed doors because we only see the opportunity in front of us. God sees every consequence hidden behind that opportunity. He sees conversations that have not happened yet, betrayals that have not been revealed yet, losses that have not arrived yet, and blessings that cannot enter your life until the wrong path has completely disappeared. This is why spiritual maturity is not measured by how loudly someone celebrates open doors. It is measured by whether they can still trust God when every visible path seems to disappear. Many people spend years trying to force what God is quietly preventing. They push against doors that heaven has already locked. They exhaust themselves chasing relationships that only bring confusion. They refuse to release careers that drain their purpose. They cling to habits that make them feel secure while slowly stealing their future. Then they wonder why peace never stays. But when God begins preparing you for a greater season of provision, He often interrupts your plans before they interrupt your destiny. He will allow frustration to become the language that redirects your life. He will make certain places feel uncomfortable because your assignment is no longer there. He will remove your excitement for what once consumed your attention because your heart is being prepared for something higher. That discomfort is not your enemy. It is often the gentle hand of God pulling you away from a future that would have looked successful on the outside while leaving your spirit empty on the inside. Have you ever noticed how people often disappear just before your greatest breakthrough? The same individuals who promised they would always stand beside you suddenly become distant. Some stop answering your calls. Others become cold without explanation. A few may even speak against you, creating stories that damage your reputation among people who never bothered to ask for the truth. It is one of the most painful experiences because betrayal has a way of making you question your own judgment. You replay old conversations in your mind, wondering whether you missed the warning signs. You ask yourself if you could have done something differently. Yet there comes a moment when God gently reminds you that not everyone who entered your life was meant to remain in your future. Some people were only part of a season, not part of your destiny. If they had stayed, they might have delayed what God intended to accelerate. If they had remained close, their influence might have become heavier than their loyalty. God is never confused about who belongs in your next chapter, even when you are. One of the greatest dangers before increase is carrying unnecessary weight. A traveler cannot run freely while holding bags filled with stones. In the same way, your spirit cannot move confidently toward what God has prepared while dragging the burden of unforgiveness, resentment, regret, and constant comparison. This is why God sometimes confronts the hidden places of your heart before He changes the visible parts of your life. He asks you to release what has been poisoning your peace. Not because the people who hurt you deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. Every moment you continue carrying bitterness, you give yesterday permission to steal today's strength. Every hour spent replaying betrayal is an hour not invested in preparing for the future God is building. Forgiveness does not erase what happened. It simply refuses to let pain become your permanent identity. And when your heart becomes free from those invisible chains, you discover that your energy is no longer consumed by what you lost, but by anticipation for what God is about to provide. This is where faith begins to look different. It is no longer desperate hope that depends on favorable circumstances. It becomes quiet confidence rooted in the character of God. You stop measuring your future by your current bank account, by the opinions of critics, or by the number of opportunities you can currently see. Instead, you recognize that the same God who carried you through rejection can carry you into abundance. The same God who sustained you when resources were limited can entrust you with greater resources without allowing them to become your master. Your confidence shifts from what is visible to the one who sees what is invisible. Suddenly, the delays that once frustrated you begin to make sense. The heartbreak that nearly broke your spirit becomes part of your testimony. The closed doors that once made you cry become reasons to give thanks. You realize that God was never denying your future, He was protecting it. And when that realization settles deeply into your heart, fear begins to lose its voice. You no longer chase every opportunity in panic because you know that what God has prepared for you will arrive at the appointed time. No betrayal can cancel it. No accusation can stop it. No delay can destroy it. What God has determined for your life does not depend on human permission. And when His time comes, even the obstacles that once stood against you will become undeniable evidence that His hand has been guiding you all along. There is another sign that many people overlook because it does not arrive with loud celebrations or immediate success. It begins with an unexpected stirring inside your spirit. The things that once satisfied, you no longer hold the same power. The goals that used to consume your thoughts suddenly seem too small. you find yourself longing for something you cannot fully explain. It is as though God has placed a new vision in your heart before He has revealed the full picture to your eyes. At first, this can feel unsettling because your surroundings remain the same, while something deep within you is changing. You wake up knowing you cannot go back to the person you used to be, yet you cannot clearly see who you are becoming. This is one of the holiest moments in a person's journey, because transformation always begins within before it becomes visible without. God never builds a new future on an unchanged heart. He expands your vision before He expands your resources. He stretches your faith before He stretches your influence. He teaches you to think beyond survival because He is preparing you for a season where your life will no longer be defined by merely getting through another day. He is preparing you to become someone who carries peace in chaos, wisdom in uncertainty, and generosity in abundance. Do not underestimate what God is doing when He begins removing your dependence on constant reassurance. There was a time when you needed people to tell you that you were doing well. You searched for approval in compliments, encouragement, and recognition. When people celebrated you, your confidence grew. When they ignored you, your strength seemed to disappear. But God loves you too much to leave your identity in the hands of people whose opinions change with the wind. So He allows seasons where encouragement becomes scarce. The applause fades. The invitations stop coming. The messages become fewer. At first, you wonder if you have done something wrong. But slowly you discover that God is teaching you to stand without leaning on human affirmation. He is training you to keep moving, even when no one notices your effort. He is showing you that faithfulness is not proven by public attention, but by private obedience. The person who learns to remain steady without applause is the person who can also remain humble when applause finally arrives. This is also the season when fear begins making its loudest arguments. It whispers that you have waited too long. It tells you that others are moving ahead while you remain behind. It points to your past mistakes as though they have the authority to define your future. It reminds you of every opportunity that slipped through your hands and every person who walked away. Fear is relentless because it wants you to make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. It wants you to abandon your trust just before the answer appears. But listen carefully. Fear has no ability to see what God is already arranging beyond your vision. It only speaks from what is visible today. God speaks from what He has already prepared for tomorrow. That is why faith often sounds unreasonable to those who measure life only by appearances. Faith declares that a closed door is not the end when God still has another way. Faith believes that one act of divine favor can accomplish what years of human striving could never achieve. Faith refuses to surrender because it understands that God is never limited by the limitations that surround you. Perhaps you have asked yourself why the path has been so much harder than you expected. Why did others seem to receive opportunities with ease, while every step of your journey demanded endurance? Why did your character get tested when dishonest people appeared to prosper? Those questions are real, and God is not offended by them. But consider this possibility. What if the difficulty was not proof that you had been forgotten? What if it was evidence that God was preparing you to carry something that required greater strength? A tree that survives powerful storms develops roots that reach far deeper than a tree that has never faced strong winds. In the same way, every trial has been driving your spiritual roots deeper into trust, patience, wisdom, and perseverance. The pressure you have experienced has not been meaningless. It has been shaping a person who will not panic when blessings increase, who will not become arrogant when success arrives, and who will not forget God when life becomes comfortable. The greatest danger is not having little. The greatest danger is receiving much without possessing the character to manage it well. God knows the difference. And because He loves you, He prepares you before He promotes you. So if your life feels quieter than you expected, if your circle has become smaller, if your plans have been interrupted, if your heart has been stretched beyond what feels comfortable, do not rush to conclude that you are falling behind. Some of God's greatest works begin where human certainty ends. While others are chasing quick results, He is building lasting foundations. While the world celebrates what is immediate, God is investing in what will endure. The wealth He prepares is more than numbers in an account. It is the ability to walk in peace when others are consumed by anxiety. It is the wisdom to recognize opportunities that others overlook. It is the discipline to remain faithful when shortcuts promise faster rewards. It is the courage to obey God even when the path makes no sense to anyone around you. And when these qualities begin taking root within your heart, you are witnessing one of the clearest signs that God is preparing you not merely to receive abundance, but to carry it with humility, protect it with wisdom, and use it in ways that reflect His goodness long after the excitement of the blessing itself has passed. There comes a moment in every season of preparation when God begins to replace your desperation with unshakable peace. And if you are paying attention, this may be the greatest sign of all that your season of increase is drawing near. This peace does not come because every problem has disappeared. It comes while the problems are still standing in front of you. Your circumstances may remain unchanged, yet something inside you refuses to panic the way it once did. The bills may still be waiting, the answers may still seem delayed, the critics may still be speaking, but your heart is no longer controlled by fear. You stop waking up with the weight of anxiety pressing against your chest because you realize that your future has never been resting in the hands of people. It has always rested in the hands of God. That realization changes everything. You begin to pray with confidence instead of desperation. You begin to work with excellence instead of exhaustion. You begin to wait with expectation instead of frustration. The same situations that once stole your joy now become reminders that God has carried you through every impossible season before, and He has never failed you. Peace is not weakness. It is evidence that your trust has grown stronger than your circumstances. Many people chase wealth while carrying restless hearts. But God knows that lasting increase must first be matched by lasting stability within. Otherwise, every blessing becomes another source of fear. That is why He teaches you to remain calm before He allows greater responsibility to arrive. Watch what begins to happen when this peace settles deeply into your spirit. You no longer compete with everyone around you. You stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. You are no longer distracted by the appearance of people who seem to be moving faster than you. Comparison quietly loses its grip because you understand that God has never asked you to live another person's journey. Every assignment is different. Every season has its own purpose. Every delay carries its own lesson. Instead of asking, why is someone else ahead? You begin asking, God, what are you teaching me today? That single change in perspective protects your heart from envy and fills it with gratitude. Gratitude is powerful because it opens your eyes to blessings that complaining can never see. You begin noticing the strength God has built within you, the wisdom He has given you through difficult seasons, and the opportunities that quietly appear when your heart is no longer consumed by what you think is missing. People often assume that wealth begins with a financial increase, but many times it begins with a transformed perspective. A grateful heart recognizes value, where an ungrateful heart sees only lack. A peaceful mind discovers possibilities that an anxious mind completely overlooks. Then God starts placing unexpected opportunities before you, but they rarely arrive wrapped in certainty. They often come disguised as simple conversations, ordinary responsibilities, or small acts of obedience that seem insignificant at first. This is where many people miss their moment. They are waiting for something dramatic while God is inviting them to be faithful with what appears ordinary. Never underestimate the power of one conversation directed by God. Never dismiss one unexpected introduction, one idea that refuses to leave your mind, one skill you have quietly developed through years of unnoticed effort. God has a remarkable way of connecting ordinary moments until they become extraordinary outcomes. Looking back, you will realize that the breakthrough did not begin on the day everyone celebrated your success. It began months or even years earlier when you chose integrity over compromise, patience over panic, faith over fear, and obedience over convenience. Every quiet decision became another stone in the foundation God was building beneath your feet. While others were searching for shortcuts, God was preparing a path that could sustain you long after temporary success fades away. There is also a new boldness that begins growing inside you, and it does not come from pride or self-confidence. It comes from knowing that God has carried you through too much for you to doubt Him now. You remember the nights when you thought you would never recover. You remember the betrayals that nearly hardened your heart, the disappointments that made you question your direction, the seasons when all you could do was whisper a prayer because your strength had run out. Yet here you are. You did not arrive by accident. You were sustained by the faithfulness of God through every unseen battle. That memory becomes fuel for your future. Instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? You begin asking, what if God is about to do more than I have ever imagined? Fear begins losing ground because your testimony has become stronger than your doubts. Every past deliverance reminds you that the God who protected you then has not changed today. His wisdom has not diminished. His power has not weakened. His purpose for your life has not been canceled by the mistakes of others or even by your own failures. What He begins, He is able to complete in His perfect time. So if you find yourself standing in a season where your trust is deeper than your fear, where your peace is stronger than your panic, where your dependence on God has become greater than your dependence on people, do not overlook what is happening. These are not small changes. They are sacred evidence that your heart is being prepared for a future your current eyes cannot fully see. Wealth that comes without wisdom disappears quickly. Success that comes without character often destroys the one who receives it. But when God shapes your spirit before He enlarges your life, the blessing becomes more than a temporary reward. It becomes a lasting responsibility that reflects His goodness. Hold on a little longer. Refuse to surrender to discouragement just because the process has taken longer than you expected. Every unseen prayer has been heard. Every faithful step has been noticed. Every tear shed in quiet moments has been counted by God. The day is coming when what once looked like painful preparation will be recognized as perfect timing. Those who doubted your journey will not be able to deny the change they see. More importantly, you will know in the deepest part of your heart that it was never luck, coincidence, or human ability that brought you there. It was God guiding you through every closed door, every lonely night, every difficult lesson, and every moment of waiting until the appointed time arrived. And when that time comes, the abundance He places in your life will testify not only to His provision, but to His faithfulness that never left you, even when you could not yet see where He was leading. The moment you stop seeing your life through the eyes of fear and begin seeing it through the faithfulness of God, everything changes. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, God, what are you preparing me for? That single question can transform your entire future because it shifts your attention away from your pain and toward His purpose. Remember this with all your heart. God never wastes a season. He never wastes a disappointment. He never wastes a betrayal, a delay, a closed door, or a tear that was cried in complete silence. Every difficult chapter has been carrying a lesson, and every lesson has been preparing you for a responsibility greater than you imagined. If your path has been harder than expected, do not assume you have been forgotten. Sometimes the greatest preparation happens in the places where no one is watching. Sometimes the strongest faith is built in the moments when there is no visible evidence that anything is changing. But God has been working long before you recognized His hand, and He will finish what He has begun. One day you will look back at this season, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. The rejection that once broke your heart will make sense because it protected you from settling for less than God's purpose. The relationships that ended will no longer feel like permanent losses because you will realize they were making room for healthier connections. The delays that frustrated you will become proof that God's timing was wiser than your own. Even the moments when you question, your strength will become reminders that it was never your strength carrying you. It was God's faithfulness every single day. There were nights when you thought your hope was disappearing, yet God quietly renewed it. There were mornings when you wondered how you would keep moving forward, yet somehow He gave you enough strength for one more step. That is how God often works. He does not always reveal the entire journey at once. He gives you enough grace for today while preparing blessings that belong to tomorrow. Do not allow bitterness to become the final chapter of your story. Do not let disappointment convince you that your future has already been decided. The opinions spoken against you are not greater than God's purpose for you. The mistakes you regret are not stronger than His mercy. The doors that close behind you are not more powerful than the doors He is able to open before you. People may remember your failures, but God sees the person you are becoming. Others may define you by your weakest season, but God defines you by His purpose. Refuse to carry labels that He never placed upon you. Refuse to let fear write a story that faith was meant to finish. Every day you choose to trust God instead of surrendering to despair is another declaration that your hope is alive. Every act of obedience, even when no one notices, is another seed planted in the field of your future. Every prayer whispered through tears is heard by the one who never overlooks a sincere heart. If God has been teaching you patience, treasure it. If He has been teaching you humility, embrace it. If He has been teaching you perseverance, do not resist it. These are not obstacles standing between you and your blessing. They are part of the blessing itself. Wealth without wisdom becomes a burden. Success without humility becomes dangerous. Influence without integrity quickly fades. But when God shapes your heart before He enlarges your life, the blessings He gives become stable because they rest upon a solid foundation. The greatest miracle is not simply receiving more. It is becoming the kind of person who can honor God with whatever He entrusts to your care. That transformation is worth every difficult season you have endured. So stand up again, even if yesterday tried to convince you to give up. Pray again, even if the last answer took longer than you expected. Believe again, even if disappointment has visited your life more than once. Hope again, even if people laughed when you spoke about your future. Do not measure God's faithfulness by the speed of your circumstances. Measure it by the countless times He has sustained you when you should have fallen apart. Measure it by the peace He placed in your heart when anxiety tried to consume you. Measure it by the strength He gave you to keep walking when every emotion told you to stop. Those are not small miracles. They are living evidence that God has been preparing you every step of the way. I believe there is someone hearing these words who has quietly wondered whether this is the end of the road. It is not. As long as God is guiding your steps, there is still purpose ahead of you. There is still hope beyond your disappointment. There is still provision beyond your present limitation. There is still restoration beyond what was taken from you. The chapter you are living today is not the whole story. God is still writing. He is still opening what no one else can open. He is still making a way where human wisdom sees no way at all. Hold tightly to Him when you cannot hold tightly to your circumstances. Trust Him when you cannot trace every detail of the journey. Refuse to surrender your faith because of temporary darkness. Dawn always arrives after the longest night. And God's perfect timing never arrives too early or too late. As you leave these words behind and continue your journey, carry this truth deep within your spirit. If God is changing your heart, strengthening your character, increasing your peace, teaching you patience, and drawing you closer to Him than you have ever been before, then do not fear the process you are walking through. Those are not signs that He has forgotten you. They are signs that He is preparing you. Keep your hands faithful. Keep your heart humble. Keep your eyes fixed on God instead of your circumstances. Let gratitude replace complaint. Let courage silence fear. Let faith become louder than every voice of doubt. The day will come when what once looked like delay will reveal itself as divine wisdom. What once felt like loss will become unexpected gain. What once seemed like endless waiting will become undeniable testimony. And when that moment arrives, you will not stand there boasting about your own strength or intelligence. You will stand in quiet awe, knowing with absolute certainty that every step, every battle, every tear, every prayer, every closed door, every lonely season, and every lesson was woven together by the hand of God, who never abandoned you, never overlooked you, never stopped working for your good, and never failed to keep His promises in the perfect time He had prepared from the very beginning. My friend, Listen to me with the ears of your spirit open wide, because what I'm about to say is not ordinary talk. It is a prophetic word. It is a divine announcement from the throne of heaven. God is about to change your story. You may have cried through the night, wondering when things would turn. You may have felt forgotten, rejected, or buried by life's disappointments. But I tell you today, the same God who lifted Joseph from the prison to the palace is still alive, and He is about to lift you too. You are standing at the edge of a turning point. Heaven has declared your season of delay is ending. The story that once brought you shame is about to become the very testimony that will bring you honor. There are moments in life when it feels like all doors are closed, when every effort produces nothing, when you wake up each day wondering why you even try anymore. But do you not know that sometimes God allows the night to get darker so that His light may shine brighter? You may have been praying, fasting, and waiting, and nothing seems to move. But what you don't see is that God has been working behind the scenes. God has been rearranging the details, positioning people, and aligning circumstances so that when He moves, no man can take the glory. God is not slow. God is strategic. And when He decides to change your story, it happens suddenly. There are divine moments when God intervenes and turns everything upside down, not to destroy you, but to set the stage for something you could never have imagined. You see, when God is about to change your story, He first shakes the foundation. He removes things and people that cannot go where you are going. That's why sometimes before the change, there is chaos. Before the elevation, there is separation. Before the breakthrough, there is breaking. But those who endure the breaking are the ones who will taste the blessing. If you are being shaken, it's not a punishment, it's preparation. God shakes what can be shaken so that what cannot be shaken may remain. Do not despise the season of isolation. Do not curse the days of smallness. Do not look down on the hidden years when no one knows your name. Because these are the years where God rewrites your destiny in silence. These are the seasons when God molds you into the vessel that can carry the greatness He is about to release. When the world sees you later, they'll say it happened suddenly. But you and God will know it didn't happen suddenly. It happened secretly. He was working on you while you were waiting. Many times, God allows you to walk through the valley, not because He has forgotten you, but because He wants to reveal Himself to you in a way you've never known before. Anyone can praise God on the mountaintop, but only the chosen can still trust Him in the valley. When your back is against the wall, when you've exhausted all your strength, that's when God steps in. That's when the impossible becomes possible. That's when stories change. You may feel stuck right now, but God is not done with you. Your pain is not permanent. Your story is not finished. You are in the middle of a divine plot twist. God is about to rewrite your destiny with His own hand. The power of God is not limited by your past. God is not intimidated by your mistakes. He is not restricted by your failures. When He decides to change your story, He will do it in such a way that even your enemies will be silenced. The same mouth that spoke against you will witness your rising. The same people who turn their backs on you will hear the sound of your victory. God is a master at using the rejected stone to become the cornerstone. He uses the broken to display His glory. He used the weak to shame the strong. That is why your story is not over, because God is still the author. And when God writes, He does not make errors. Do you know why God sometimes lets your life go through long seasons of delay? Because when He finally releases your blessing, no man will be able to claim that they helped you. He will make it clear that it was Him and Him alone. You will know it wasn't by connection, it wasn't by luck, it wasn't by your talent, it was by divine intervention. God is not in the business of small changes. When He changes a story, He does it completely. He doesn't fix a few chapters. He rewrites the whole book. The very things that once caused you to cry will one day cause you to rejoice. There are some of you listening right now, your heart is weary. You've said to yourself, I prayed enough, I've waited enough, I've tried enough. But hear me, the moment you are about to give up is often the moment right before your breakthrough. God tests your faith, not to break it, but to strengthen it. You are not being denied, you are being refined. Every disappointment you faced was not rejection, it was redirection. God was steering you away from what would have destroyed you. He was protecting you while you thought He was punishing you. When God is about to change your story, He will allow situations that force you to trust Him completely. He will take you to the edge where human help cannot reach, so that you can learn that His arm is not too short to save. Sometimes God hides your miracle inside a mess. He hides your promotion inside the problem. He hides your breakthrough inside the battle. That's why people who give up too soon miss what God was trying to reveal. You must learn to stay faithful in the fire, because the fire is where your future is forged. You see, God's timing is not our timing. You may think He's late, but He's never late. He's always on schedule. What you call delay, He calls design. The very waiting that frustrates you is building the strength you will need to carry the blessing. Because it's one thing to receive a miracle, it's another thing to sustain it. God doesn't just want to change your story temporarily. He wants to change it permanently. And for that, He must first change you. That's why He allows pressure, isolation, and testing, not to destroy you, but to prepare you for the weight of what's coming. There is a divine pattern in the lives of those God raises. First, He hides them. Then, He humbles them. Then, He honors them. Look at your life. Perhaps you are in the hiding stage, or maybe the humbling stage. But don't lose heart, because the honoring stage is coming. God does not start something He will not finish. He does not call a person only to abandon them halfway. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you've whispered, every seed of faith you've sown, it has been recorded in heaven. And now the time has come for a divine reversal. When God changes your story, He does it in such a way that everyone will know this could not have happened by human strength. You'll move from renting to owning, from borrowing to lending, from surviving to thriving. You'll wake up one day and realize that what once seemed impossible has become your new normal. The same place where you were mocked will become the place where you are celebrated. The same people who said, it's over for you, will witness your comeback. God is rewriting your narrative, and no one can edit His script, but you must believe. You must keep your faith alive, because faith is the bridge between your present and your promise. If you let doubt dominate your heart, you will forfeit what's already on its way. Doubt delays destiny. Fear blocks miracles. But when you dare to believe, even when nothing makes sense, heaven moves on your behalf. God responds to faith, not feelings, not fear, faith. It is faith that turns trials into testimonies. It is faith that unlocks divine favor. It is faith that activates the change God has already planned for you. You may not see it now, but something is shifting. Doors that were closed are about to open. People who ignored you are about to remember you. Opportunities that passed you by are coming back around, but this time you'll be ready. The pain you've endured is the proof that your story is not finished. When you have suffered long enough, when your faith has been tested long enough, God says, now is time. And when God says it's time, no force on earth or in hell can stop it. I want you to lift your eyes beyond your circumstances. Stop looking at what is missing. Stop focusing on what went wrong. Start declaring what God has promised. Speak life into your situation. Speak hope into your future. Speak faith into your atmosphere. Because your words have a power. The story you tell yourself determines the story you live. If you keep saying, nothing ever changes for me, you'll remain in that cycle. But if you start saying, God is about to change my story, you invite heaven to intervene, you are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are chosen for transformation. Everything you have gone through has been a setup for what is coming next. The valley was necessary for you to appreciate the mountain. The storm was necessary for you to recognize peace. The tears were necessary for you to value joy. When God restores, He multiplies. When He heals, He completes. When He promotes, He elevates beyond imagination. God is not about to make a small adjustment. He is about to make a complete turnaround. The winds are changing. The heavens are shifting. The delay is ending. You've waited. You've trusted. You've endured. Now is your time. God is about to write a new chapter in your life. One that will erase the pain of the past. One that will silence your enemies. One that will make you stand in awe of His power. Keep your heart ready. Keep your spirit open. Because when the divine moment arrives, it will come suddenly. God is about to change your story. And when He does, nothing will ever be the same again. When God decides to change your story, He does not consult your past. He does not ask for the opinions of those who doubted you. He does not seek the approval of those who left you behind. God acts according to His own will, in His own time, and for His own glory. You may have been written off by people, but you are still written into God's plan. Others may see you as finished, but God sees you as in progress. They see failure, but He sees formation. They see the ashes, but He sees the beauty that is about to rise from them. When the author of all things begins to rewrite your destiny, even your scars become sacred. Every tear becomes a seed for joy. Every disappointment becomes the soil for your next breakthrough. Do not be deceived by what your eyes see. God is often silent right before He moves. You might be walking through days where nothing seems to make sense, but silence is not absence. When God appears quiet, He is preparing something greater than your expectation. Just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not happening. The seed grows beneath the soil long before it appears on the surface. Likewise, your story is shifting beneath the surface of what you can see. Divine rearrangements are happening beyond your understanding. God is planting people, positioning opportunities, and orchestrating events that will align perfectly with your appointed time. You may think nothing is happening, but heaven is moving on your behalf. Every time you've been overlooked, it was not because you were unworthy. It was because God was reserving you for the right moment. Every rejection was protection. Every delay was direction. Sometimes God hides your potential until the time of unveiling. He allows you to walk unnoticed until He has refined your spirit enough to handle recognition without pride. For the story He is writing in your life will not be an ordinary one. It will be one that glorifies Him alone. And for that, He must prepare your character to sustain the weight of greatness. Because what destroys many is not failure, but premature success. You see, when God is about to change your story, He begins by changing your vision. He shifts your focus from what is seen to what is unseen. He calls you to believe in promises that seem impossible. He teaches you to stand firm when everything around you says, give up. Your transformation always begins internally before it manifests externally. You cannot receive a new story while holding on to the old mindset. You must release the language of defeat. Stop saying, maybe it's not for me. Stop saying, I will never rise. Begin to declare, God is rewriting my life for His glory. I am becoming who He designed me to be. The tongue is the pen that writes your destiny. Use it wisely. There are moments when you will not understand why certain things had to happen, why people you trusted walked away, why doors you prayed for stayed shut, why life seemed unfair. But one day, when you stand in the place God has prepared for you, you will realize that everything was necessary. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the loss, all of it was a bridge, not a barrier. God allowed those things not to break you, but to awaken you. He was removing distractions, exposing deception, and guiding you toward a higher purpose. You may not see it yet, but there is purpose in the pain. There is a meaning in the waiting. There is a destiny in the disappointment. When your story changes, it will happen in a way that will silence every doubt. God will not only restore what you lost, He will multiply it. He will not only vindicate you, He will elevate you. He will not only heal your wounds, He will make them testimonies. The same area of your life where you were once broken will become the area where you shine the brightest. This is how God works. He takes the very thing meant to destroy you and transforms it into the very thing that defines you. But understand this, before the change comes, God will test your obedience. He will test your faith in the waiting season. He will see whether you can still worship Him when nothing seems to work, whether you can still trust Him when your plans fall apart, whether you can still thank Him when He takes something away. The story God is writing for you requires surrender, complete surrender. Because when you finally let go of control, God takes over completely. And when He takes over, everything changes. The change that is coming will not be subtle. It will be divine and undeniable. Those who thought they knew you will struggle to recognize you. They will ask, what happened to you? And you will answer, God changed my story. He will take you from overlooked to overblessed, from burden to favored, from forgotten to chosen. You will become a living testimony of what happens when God steps into a life that refuses to give up. Do not let your current struggle convince you that your story has ended. The pit is not permanent. The wilderness is not forever. The silence is not punishment. God is using it to strengthen your spirit and sharpen your discernment. For where you are going, you will need a deeper understanding, a stronger faith, and a heart that cannot be shaken by fear. When you come out of this season, you will be wiser, stronger, and unrecognizably transformed. Some of you are standing on the threshold of your miracle, but fear is holding you back. You are afraid to hope again because you've been disappointed before. You are afraid to dream again because your last dream died. But let me tell you, God is not bound by your past experiences. Just because something didn't work out before does not mean it never will. God can breathe life into what you thought was finished. He can resurrect the dream, restore the opportunity, and renew your strength. The ending you feared is about to become the beginning of something greater. There are divine moments when everything shifts, not gradually, but instantly. God speaks and everything aligns. One word from Him can open doors that were locked for years. One encounter with His presence can undo a lifetime of pain. One divine moment can erase decades of struggle. That's how powerful God is. And that is what's about to happen to you. You may not know the exact day or hour, but it will come. And when it comes, you will understand why you had to go through everything you did. Keep your heart sensitive. Keep your faith alive. Because change begins in the unseen before it appears in the visible. It begins in your spirit, in your faith, in your declaration. The person who believes that God is about to change their story will start preparing for it. Faith is not just words, it's action. When you truly believe God is about to move, you start aligning your life with that belief. You let go of negativity. You forgive those who wronged you. You make peace with your past. You start walking like someone who knows something divine is about to unfold. The reason many people miss their transformation is because they keep looking for signs instead of staying faithful. But the truth is, your faithfulness is the sign. Your endurance is the evidence that God is still working. Don't wait to feel it, believe it. Don't wait to see it, act like it's already done. Because faith attracts fulfillment. And the moment you start believing fully, heaven begins to move rapidly. You may have been in the same place for years, same cycle, same struggle, same pain. But when God says, enough, everything shifts. The same life that felt stuck will suddenly move with divine speed. What once took years will happen in months. What once seemed impossible will unfold effortlessly. The favor of God will go before you, opening doors you never knocked on, connecting you with the people you never knew, and bringing answers you never expected. That's what happens when your time has come. And your time has come. You have carried the burden long enough. You have fought battles that no one knew about. You have cried in silence while still showing strength in public. But God saw it all. Not one tear went unnoticed. Not one prayer went unheard. Not one act of faith went unseen. And now heaven has issued a decree. Change the story. That decree is about to manifest in your life. When God changes your story, the transformation is not only outward but inward. He gives you peace that surpasses understanding, joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, and strength that no challenge can take away. You will no longer live reacting to life. You will live directing it through divine wisdom. You will move with authority because you will know that your steps are guided by the hand of the Almighty. Prepare yourself, because when God moves, He moves suddenly. Your story is about to shift so drastically that people will say, this can only be God. And you will know that every delay, every heartbreak, every dark night was worth it, because it led you to this divine moment of transformation. God is about to change your story. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now, in this season, in this hour, in this divine moment of alignment. When God begins to rewrite the story of a life, He does not start where others would begin. People may start from what is seen, but God starts from what is hidden. He begins deep inside the soul, where no human hand can reach. He touches the unseen roots that determine the visible fruit. That is why before God changes your situation, He changes your spirit. Before He promotes you in public, He purifies you in private. He removes the bitterness, the fear, the pride, and the doubt that once kept you bound. For how can a new story grow from an old heart? God renews the heart so that the blessing will not destroy the one who receives it. You have prayed for change on the outside, but God has been working on the inside. Because inner change is the foundation of lasting transformation. Many people cry for a new beginning, yet they still hold on to old habits, old words, old ways of thinking. But when God is about to change your story, He requires surrender. Surrender is not weakness, it is the highest form of wisdom. It is when you say, God, not my will, but yours alone. When you stop fighting for control and start trusting His direction, you invite heaven to intervene. God cannot feel a hand that refuses to let go of the past. The moment you release your grip on what has been, He will place into your hands what is meant to be. Your story is waiting for your surrender. There are times when life will press you until you feel you cannot breathe. The storms may roar, the darkness may deepen, and the path ahead may disappear beneath your feet. Yet even then, God is present. His silence is not distance, it is strategy. He hides Himself in stillness to see if your faith will stand without proof. Because faith that only survives when everything is visible is not faith at all, it is sight. True faith holds steady when the evidence disappears. It is in that kind of faith that stories change. When you say, even if I do not see the way, I will still trust. Heaven opens its gate. The greatest miracles always follow unwavering faith. Do not envy those who seem to rise faster than you. What God is building in you takes time because it must last. Temporary success is easy, but divine establishment requires depth. God is laying foundation so strong that no storm will ever shake you again. While others rush ahead, God is ensuring that your story will not collapse under pressure. You are not behind, you are being built. You are not delayed, you are being designed for endurance. The preparation may feel like a punishment, but it is protection. God is preparing you for a destiny that will outlive the applause of men. There is a rhythm in the way God works. Before He gives increase, He allows decrease. Before He reveals abundance, He allows lack. This is not cruelty, it is cultivation. When you have walked through scarcity, you will handle abundance with humility. When you have tasted rejection, you will carry authority with compassion. God does not waste pain, He transforms it into power. Every struggle becomes a teacher. Every loss, a lesson. Every delay, a refining fire. You are being shaped for significance. The fire you are in now will not destroy you. It will define you. And when your season of preparation is complete, when God sees that your heart is ready and your spirit is anchored, He releases change with a speed that no man can stop. Divine timing is mysterious. It seems slow, then suddenly it happens all at once. One moment you are invisible, the next you are indispensable. One moment the door is closed, the next it swings wide open. That is the nature of God's movement. Slow in forming, sudden in fulfillment. So never mistake waiting for wasting. God is never late. He is always perfect in His timing. When your story begins to shift, the people around you will be astonished. They will ask, how did this happen? They will not understand that while they were sleeping, heaven was writing your elevation. God does not make announcements when He prepares His chosen ones. He hides His greatest works until the appointed hour. That is why you must not despise the hidden years. They are sacred. Those are the years when God whispers secrets to your soul, when He teaches you to hear His voice and not the noise of the world. Because when the story changes, you will need to discern His direction among many distractions. Be careful not to let bitterness follow you into your new chapter. Some people try to carry the pain of the past into the promise of the future. But when God gives you a new story, He also gives you a command: forgive. Forgive so that your heart will be free. Forgive so that your spirit will not be poisoned by the past. Forgive so that you can move with peace and purity into what is next. Holding on to resentment is like chaining yourself to the very season you pray to leave. God wants you unchained. He wants you light enough to soar. When God changes your story, He does not simply lift you, He elevates your vision. You begin to see life differently. You no longer chase validation from people. You seek only alignment with His purpose. You stop striving for applause and start striving for peace. You stop chasing opportunities and start attracting them by walking in divine order. That is what happens when transformation becomes revelation. You begin to understand that God's favor is not a feeling, it is a function. You exist now to reflect His power, not to prove your worth. And listen carefully, your story is not changing only for you. God changes your life so that others may believe. Your breakthrough will become the light that guides us still in darkness. Your healing will become hope for those still broken. Your victory will become a sign that God is still faithful. Every person who witnessed your transformation will be reminded that nothing is impossible when the Creator intervenes. You are not just being lifted, you are being assigned. Your new story carries a purpose bigger than your comfort. It carries a message of divine faithfulness. There will come a moment when you will look back and realize why God made you wait so long. You will see how every closed door protected you from something that was not yours. You will see how every unanswered prayer was a redirection toward something greater. You will see how every loss became a bridge toward maturity. When that moment comes, gratitude will flood your heart. You will no longer ask, why me? You will whisper, now I understand. That is the beauty of divine timing. It reveals wisdom after the waiting. If you are in the middle of your pain right now, hold on. Do not let despair convince you that God has forgotten. The silence you feel is not abandonment. It is the pause before the unveiling. The darker the night, the closer the dawn. The deeper the sorrow, the greater the joy that is coming. What you feel as your ending is actually a turning. Every great story begins with a point of breaking, and then the breakthrough comes. That's where you are on the edge of your breakthrough. Lift your head and strengthen your heart. The same God who brought light out of darkness will bring clarity out of confusion. The same God who shaped galaxies out of chaos can shape purpose out of your pain. Nothing is wasted in His plan, not the tears, not the waiting, not the silence. He weaves it all together into a masterpiece that only makes sense when viewed from the mountaintop. You may be standing in the valley now, but you will not stay there. The author of your story is not finished writing. When the change manifests, do not forget who made it possible. Do not take credit for what only God could do. Remember the nights you prayed, the times you nearly gave up, the moments you felt alone. Let humility anchor you in gratitude. For nothing destroys a new story faster than pride. Humility is the seal of divine favor. The more you honor God in your success, the more He will enlarge your territory. The story He writes through you is meant to glorify Him, not you. And let me tell you this, once God changes your story, it will stay changed. No power, no opposition, no curse can reverse it. When He declares, it is done, it is sealed, you will rise and you will remain. You will shine and no darkness will extinguish your light. You will walk through doors that no one can shut because they were opened by divine hands. You will stand in places you once only dreamed of, and you will know that it was not luck, it was destiny. So keep your faith alive. No matter what you face, speak with conviction, walk with confidence, believe with boldness, because every breath you take is a sign that your purpose is not finished. You are not forgotten, you are favored, you are not abandoned, you are being advanced. The script of your life is being edited by the hand of the Almighty, and when His pen moves, miracles follow. The chapter ahead will carry laughter where there were tears, peace where there was chaos, fulfillment where there was emptiness. You will rise with strength that surprises even you. You will look around and realize that the waiting was worth it. Because when God changes your story, He changes everything. The night gives way to morning. The sorrow gives way to joy. The test gives way to testimony. The season of pain gives way to a life of divine purpose. So stand firm, trust deeply, expect greatly. Because the same God who spoke light into existence is speaking transformation into your life right now. Every force that stood against you is losing its grip. Every delay is being turned into acceleration. Every weakness is being turned into strength. You are not who you used to be. You are who God is shaping you to become. Your new story has already begun, and soon the world will see what heaven already knows. God has changed your story forever. Listen to me carefully, because this message is not for every woman. This is for the woman who has cried in secret, who has walked through fire, who has been broken by betrayal, and yet still whispers in the dark, God, I trust you. This is for the woman who has reached the point where her tears have become her prayers. The woman who has seen doors close, people walk away, opportunities vanish, and still refuses to bow before the world. She stands, she waits, she trusts, because she knows a woman of God doesn't beg. She trusts God. When a woman belongs to God, there is a certain dignity upon her spirit. She may be wounded, but she does not collapse. She may be tested, but she does not compromise. She may lose everything the world promised her, but she does not lose her confidence in the one who holds everything in His hands. A woman of God knows that what is meant for her cannot be taken away. She knows that if God has written her destiny, no man, no circumstance, and no failure can erase it. So, when the world expects her to plead, to chase, to beg, she instead falls to her knees and speaks to God, not to people. She knows her help does not come from man. It comes from above. You see, begging comes from fear, but trusting comes from faith. When you beg, you are saying, I need someone to give me what I cannot live without. But when you trust God, you are saying, even if I lose it all, I will still be complete because I have God. That is the posture of a woman of faith. She does not live desperate for attention, desperate for validation, desperate for acceptance. Her soul is anchored in something far greater than human approval. Her spirit is fixed on the eternal. She does not need to fight for a seat at the table because she knows God can prepare a whole table for her, even in the presence of her enemies. There are women who think that to be loved, they must chase love. That to be respected, they must lower themselves. That to be seen, they must beg to be noticed. But a woman of God knows if it is from God, she will never have to beg for it. If it is aligned with the divine will, it will come with a peace, not pressure. If it is destined, it will not require humiliation. What comes from God carries grace, not desperation. What comes from God fits your spirit, not just your emotions. So stop begging people to stay. Stop begging life to give you what it has already denied, and start trusting that what left was not meant to destroy you, but to redirect you. There are seasons in a woman's life where everything she thought she needed begins to fall apart. Friendships end, relationships die, opportunities vanish. And she stands there wondering, why is this happening to me? But what she does not realize is that God is not punishing her, He is protecting her. God is not rejecting her, He is redirecting her. Because sometimes God has to strip away everything that is distracting you so you can learn that you never needed to beg the world when you already had the favor of heaven. A woman of God understands timing. She knows that what is delayed is not denied. She knows that silence from God does not mean absence. It means preparation. When others panic in the waiting, she praises in the waiting. When others run around trying to fix everything, she stands still and lets God fight for her. She does not beg people to notice her worth because she knows that God will send the right eyes to see her when it is time. She does not beg for love because she knows that when God is ready, love will find her already whole. She does not beg for opportunities because she knows God can open one door that makes up for every door that was ever closed. A woman who trusts God is a dangerous woman. She cannot be manipulated because her heart is not controlled by approval. She cannot be broken because her strength is not built on people. She cannot be defeated because she fights her battles in prayer, not panic. You may see her quiet, but she is not weak. You may see her alone, but she is not abandoned. She knows who walks with her. She knows who defends her. And that knowledge gives her peace that the world cannot understand. Sometimes God will take a woman through isolation just to teach her not to depend on human validation. He will let people ignore her, so she learns that she does not need their applause to fulfill her destiny. He will let doors close, so she stops knocking on the wrong ones. He will let certain people betray her, not because He wants to hurt her, but because He wants her to see that not everyone deserves access to her spirit. That's when she learns begging keeps you trapped, but trusting sets you free. There's a beauty in stillness that only a woman of faith understands. When she stops chasing, she starts attracting. When she stops pleading, she starts receiving. Because the energy of trust is magnetic, it pulls divine order into her life. When she trusts God, she releases control. And in releasing control, she allows God to move freely on her behalf. She realized that begging says, I need to hold this together. But trusting says, God, you hold it all together. The moment she lets go of the need to control outcomes, she steps into divine flow. And in that flow, everything aligns. Some of you are still begging for things that are beneath your calling, begging for attention from people who don't value you, begging for love from hearts that were never meant to understand you, begging for opportunities that are too small for the destiny God placed inside you. It's time to stop begging and start believing. If you knew who you are in God's eyes, you would never chase anything again. You would realize that God never created you to run after crumbs when He has already prepared a feast for you. A woman of God walks differently. Her silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. Her patience is not passivity, it is a power. Her stillness is not stagnation, it is a surrender. She doesn't need to prove her worth because she knows her worth is sealed by divine favor. When she walks into a room, her presence speaks louder than her words because she carries something sacred, the quiet confidence of a woman who trusts God fully. That is a power no man can imitate and no circumstance can break. And let me tell you this, when a woman stops begging and starts trusting, everything in her life begins to change. Her relationship changes, her energy changes, her decisions change. She stopped trying to please everyone because she only seeks to please God. She stops over-explaining herself because she knows that truth defends itself. She stops worrying about the future because she knows the one who holds it. Her whole being shifts from desperation to divine peace. You can feel it. When you're around her, she radiates faith. She glows differently because her light doesn't come from validation. It comes from revelation. You must understand, there is a difference between asking God and begging the world. Asking God is a sign of trust. Begging the world is a sign of fear. A woman of faith asks boldly but waits patiently. She prays deeply but moves wisely. She does not rush to make things happen. She aligns herself with the divine timing. She knows that sometimes God's not yet is His way of saying, I'm preparing something better. So she doesn't panic when things don't go as planned. She doesn't lose sleep over what's missing. She keeps her peace because she knows that peace is proof of trust. When a woman trusts God, even her tears become holy. She cries differently, not out of despair, but out of surrender. Her pain becomes her prayer. Her waiting becomes her worship. Her silence becomes her strength. She doesn't need to broadcast her struggles because she knows God sees what others don't. She understands that favor doesn't need an announcement. It reveals itself in time. That is the mystery of divine trust. You stop explaining yourself and let results speak for you. You can always recognize a woman who trusts God. She's not loud, but she's powerful. She's not bitter, but she's wise. She's not anxious, but she's alert. She carries peace like perfume. Wherever she goes, the atmosphere shifts. Because when you live in trust, you carry the fragrance of divine assurance. It's the quiet authority of someone who knows that even if everything looks wrong, God is still working it out right. She no longer begs for blessings, she becomes a magnet for them. And let me say this with the power, you don't have to chase what God has chosen for you. You don't have to convince anyone to love you, support you, or believe in you. What is yours will recognize you when it sees you. What is meant for you will not pass you by. So stop begging people to stay who were meant to leave. Stop begging for acceptance in places where your spirit doesn't belong. Stop begging for opportunities that require you to shrink your light. Trust that if something left, it was not lost, it was divine redirection. God never removes something unless He's making room for something better. A woman who trusts God does not fear tomorrow. She has seen too much of His faithfulness to doubt His plan. she's been through too much to believe that this is the end of her story. She knows that her delays are not denials, her rejections are not defeats, and her loneliness is not abandonment. Everything is divine strategy. Every disappointment carries direction. Every heartbreak hides wisdom. She knows that in time, everything will make sense. So she keeps her spirit calm, her faith steady, and her eyes on God. Do you know what makes such a woman unshakable? Is that she no longer measures her worth by how others treat her. She measures her worth by what God says about her. She no longer reacts to rejection. She responds with redirection. She no longer gets offended easily. She has learned to rest in understanding. Because once you know that God is in control, you no longer fight for control. You simply flow in peace. Many of you are tired because you've been begging for things that cannot fill you. You've been begging people to love you right, to see your worth, to return your energy, and it's breaking your spirit. But God is whispering to you today, daughter, you were never meant to beg for what I can freely give. The moment you turn your eyes back to God, you realize that everything you were begging for was already inside you. Peace, strength, love, purpose. It was never lost. It was just buried beneath your worry. God is calling you to rise again, not as a beggar, but as a believer. There's a special kind of woman who can walk through fire and not smell like smoke, who can lose everything and still smile, who can cry through the night and wake up with gratitude in the morning. That is a woman who has learned the secret to trust God completely. Her strength doesn't come from the world. It comes from knowing that God is faithful. She doesn't need to beg for peace because peace lives within her. She doesn't need to beg for love because love flows through her. She doesn't need to beg for provision because provision follows her wherever she goes. When she trusts God, she becomes a living testimony of divine favor. When a woman truly begins to trust God, something shifts inside her spirit that cannot be undone. Her perception changes, her decisions change, her emotional temperature changes. She stops reacting to everything around her because she has learned that not every battle deserves her energy. She becomes selective about what deserves her response because she knows that anything not ordained by God is a distraction sent to drain her peace. She begins to live with holy restraint, not because she is weak, but because she has learned that her strength is better used in prayer than in panic. That is the quiet confidence of a woman who knows her worth is sealed by God's hand, not people's approval. There comes a point when begging becomes beneath the dignity of a woman chosen by God. It is not arrogance, it is awareness. Awareness of who she is, awareness of who God is, awareness of what divine timing means. She no longer feels the need to chase after what belongs to someone else. She no longer envies the success of others. She no longer compares her path because she knows that her journey was never meant to mirror anyone else's. She understands that God has assigned her a rhythm, a pace, and a process. She moves when He says move, waits when He says wait, and rest when He says rest. Her heart is synchronized with heaven. That is why she can endure storms and still smile, because her peace does not depend on perfect conditions. It depends on perfect trust. A woman who trusts God becomes fearless in the face of uncertainty. When others see endings, she sees beginnings. When others see lack, she sees opportunity. When others are afraid to let go, she releases without hesitation, because she knows that when she lets go of what is fading, her hands become free to receive what is coming. This is not blind faith, this is a refined faith. It is the kind of faith that has been tested by disappointment, purified by pain, and strengthened by waiting. Trust is not born in comfort. It is born in surrender. A woman of faith does not beg because she has learned that God is never late. What looks delayed to her eyes is perfectly timed in God's plan. There are moments when life will test your faith so fiercely that you will be tempted to compromise your dignity. You will want to call back the one who left. You will want to chase after the opportunity that slipped away. You will want to plead for what once felt familiar. But hear this truth: if you must beg to keep it, it is not blessed. If you must sacrifice your peace to maintain it, it is not from God. Anything that requires you to lower your spiritual standard is not meant to remain. A woman who trusts God knows that rejection is redirection. She knows that closed doors are divine protection. She knows that what she loses in obedience, she will gain in favor. The world teaches women to chase attention, chase beauty, chase validation, chase success. But a woman of God knows that what you chase controls you. What you attract through alignment with God's will sustains you. The difference is peace. The woman who begs may receive something, but she will never rest in it. The woman who trusts may wait longer, but when her blessing arrives, it comes with peace that surpasses understanding. It fits her soul. It aligns with her purpose. It amplifies her light instead of dimming it. She doesn't need to manipulate outcomes because she lives under divine order. There is a sacred power in waiting silently before God. The world calls it inactivity. The Spirit calls it strength. Waiting is not weakness, it is warfare. While others rush, a woman who trusts waits strategically. She knows that patience is not just enduring time, it is aligning with the divine wisdom. She refuses to beg because she understands that begging demands from people what only God can provide. And she refuses to cheapen her value by asking humans for what heaven has already reserved for her. You see, when a woman begs, she is trying to control the narrative. But when she trusts, she allows God to write it. She stopped trying to fix what she never broke. She stopped trying to explain what only time will reveal. She stopped trying to prove her worth to those who are blind to it. She stopped trying to convince anyone to stay because she understands that loyalty cannot be purchased. It can only be inspired. And she stopped trying to make life happen faster because she knows that every divine promise carries a gestation period. There is a spiritual womb where blessings are formed. And if she tries to force them before their time, they will be premature. So she trusts the process. She prays while she waits. She worships while she works. She grows while she rests. That is the rhythm of divine womanhood. A woman who trusts God doesn't just survive seasons, she learns from them. Every delay refines her. Every disappointment strengthens her. Every heartbreak opens her eyes to deeper wisdom. She stops asking, why me? And starts saying, use me. She stops seeing pain as punishment and starts seeing it as preparation. She knows that every trial is shaping her into the woman she was destined to become. And when she finally stands on the other side of the storm, she realized that the struggle was not to break her, it was to reveal her. God was not testing her faith to humiliate her, but to elevate her. There are many women who live their lives begging for things that do not align with their purpose. They beg for love from hearts that are incapable of loving them. They beg for opportunities that require them to lose themselves. They beg for recognition in spaces that were never meant to honor them. But a woman who trusts God knows that not every gift is a blessing. Some gifts are traps in disguise. She has learned that discernment is greater than desire. She no longer prays for everything she wants. She prays for what God wants her to have, because she knows that divine will always bring divine protection. The woman who trusts God also learns the art of silence. She no longer explains her journey to people who will never understand it. She no longer defends her peace to those who thrive on chaos. She no longer seeks closure from those who were not meant to be part of her story. Her silence is not confusion, it is confidence. Confidence that God will vindicate her. Confidence that truth always outlives lies. Confidence that her destiny cannot be destroyed by human opinion. That is the stillness of a power, the peace that comes when you stop arguing and start ascending. Trusting God is not easy. It requires surrendering the illusion of a control. It requires walking by faith when your emotions scream for evidence. It requires believing that God is working even when nothing makes sense. But a woman who has walked with God knows that His silence is not His absence. She knows that His no is open protection, and His delay is open direction. That is why she can face uncertainty with grace. Her heart may tremble, but her faith does not falter. She walks through darkness as if she already sees the light, because deep inside she knows God never fails the one who waits on Him. Sometimes trusting God means standing alone. It means being misunderstood. It means losing people who cannot walk at your pace. But that solitude is not a curse, it is sanctification. God isolates before He elevates. He hides before He honors. He teaches before He reveals. So when life feels silent, when your prayers seem unanswered, when you feel forgotten, remember this: God is not ignoring you. He is preparing you. Preparation is painful because it purifies. Trust requires purification of the heart, removing fear, ego, and doubt until all that remains is faith. The woman who trusts God glows differently. Her beauty does not come from appearance. It comes from alignment. Her confidence is not arrogance. It is awareness of divine favor. Her strength is not loud. It is steady. She moves with purpose because she is guided by wisdom, not impulse. She does not beg for validation because she has tasted peace, and peace is addictive. Once you experience the peace that comes from trusting God, you will never again settle for the chaos of chasing people. And that is where true power begins. A woman who trusts God cannot be controlled. She cannot be manipulated by fear because her faith is greater than her feelings. She cannot be deceived by appearances because she sees through the eyes of discernment. She cannot be intimidated by laws because she knows that what is taken from her was never meant to remain. Her power lies not in resistance, but in surrender. She surrenders her will to God, and in doing so, she becomes unstoppable. When you trust God, you begin to realize that the things you once begged for no longer move you. You stop craving what does not align with your peace. You stop chasing temporary satisfaction. You stop needing constant reassurance because you are full of faith, full of purpose, full of divine contentment. Begging comes from emptiness. Trusting comes from fullness. When you live in fullness, you no longer approach life with a desperation. You approach it with a gratitude. Every sunrise becomes a reminder that God is still faithful. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to witness His power again. A woman who trusts God is not easily shaken by the opinions of others. She knows that critics are proof of progress. She knows that gossip is confirmation that she is being elevated. She does not fight rumors. She lets her results speak. She does not respond to mockery. She lets time vindicate her. Her spirit is too focused to be distracted, too wise to be provoked, too secure to be offended. This maturity is not learned in comfort. It is learned in communion with God. When you spend time with God, you begin to reflect His calm. You begin to move with quiet authority because you realize that the power that sustains you does not come from outside. It flows from within. And when such a woman speaks, her words carry weight because her tongue is guided by wisdom, not emotion. She speaks peace, and peace follows. She speaks truth, and darkness flees. She speaks life, and things begin to bloom again. This is what happens when a woman stops begging for outcomes and starts trusting the one who creates outcomes. She becomes a vessel of divine expression. Her life becomes a message. Her presence becomes a prayer. Her actions become a reflection of divine order. Let it be known, a woman of God who trusts is unshakable. She may cry, but she rises. She may stumble, but she stands again. She may lose, but she never quits. Because her faith is not built on feelings, it is built on foundation. And that foundation is God, unchanging, eternal, and faithful. There are moments in a woman's journey when trusting God will not feel easy, nor will it feel fair. There will be nights when our prayers echo in silence and mornings when our strength feels thin. Yet this is where faith matures, not when everything is clear, but when she chooses to walk through the fog, believing that God still sees. A woman who trusts God does not need every answer. She does not demand explanation. She understands that some things are hidden, not to punish her, but to preserve her. Some seasons are dark, not to frighten her, but to fortify her. When she cannot trace God's hand, she still trusts His wisdom. Trust is not built in the light. It is forged in the dark. It is in those unseen places where God tests what she truly believes. When the comfort disappears and the applause fades, will she still whisper, "I know you are good"? When nothing moves, will she still move in obedience? When her plans crumble, will she still believe in purpose? That is the measure of a true woman of faith. She does not beg God to remove her storm. She asks for the strength to stand through them because she knows that the storms are not signs of abandonment, but instruments of refinement. Every trial is a classroom where she learns the language of divine trust. When she trusts God, she begins to see beyond the surface. She understands that life is not random, it is orchestrated. Every encounter, every delay, every detour is part of a divine composition. What looks like chaos to her eyes is often perfect design in God's sight. She no longer complains about what left her. She blesses it because she realizes that if God allowed it to end, it was necessary for her growth. Sometimes God will remove people not because they are evil, but because they cannot travel to the next level with you. Sometimes He will close doors not because you failed, but because you succeeded in what that door was meant to teach you. The woman who trusts God stops questioning every ending. She starts thanking Him for new beginnings disguised as loss. Trust gives her freedom from fear. Fear is the currency of the world, but faith is the currency of heaven. Fear makes you beg. Faith makes you rest. When fear governs you, you live in panic, always thinking you will miss your moment. But when faith governs you, you understand that your moment cannot miss you. You stop running after opportunities and start preparing for them. You stop chasing people and start becoming the version of yourself that God can bless. Because when your heart is aligned, blessings are magnetized to you. They come not because you beg, but because you are ready. A woman who trusts God carries herself differently. She moves with grace even when misunderstood. She speaks with calm even when provoked. Her presence carries peace because she has been with God in secret places. Her confidence does not come from perfection but from presence, the presence of God that surrounds her wherever she goes. She does not need to shout to be heard. Her spirit already speaks. She does not need to prove her power. Her silence already declares it. Because the woman who has surrendered everything to God has nothing left to fear. There are many who will not understand this kind of peace. They will think she is careless because she doesn't panic. They will think she is detached because she doesn't chase. But what they don't see is that her peace was purchased through surrender. It is not laziness, it is trust. She has wrestled with worry long enough to know that it only drains her. She has begged long enough to know that it brings humiliation but not results. She has tried controlling outcomes long enough to know that control is an illusion. So now she chooses higher way, the way of trust. Trust that says, I don't need to know what happened next. I just need to know that God is in it. When a woman trusts God, she starts walking in divine rhythm. She no longer forces connections or manipulates timelines. She understands that rushing is the language of anxiety, while resting is the language of faith. She refuses to hurry God. She knows that anything forced by fear will crumble, but anything built on faith will last. She is patient, not because waiting is easy, but because she knows who she is waiting on. She knows that God's timing is not just perfect, it is protective. If it hasn't happened yet, it is because He is still shaping her, preparing her, or shielding her from something that would have harmed her spirit. Sometimes the greatest act of trust is to do nothing, to stop striving, to stop explaining, to stop fixing, and to let God move. The woman of God learned that rest is a form of worship. Stillness is not passivity, it is confidence. It is saying, I have done my part, now I trust God to do His. This posture of surrender brings miracles because it removes interference. When you stop touching what only God can handle, divine order begins to flow. This is why the woman who trusts God seems to experience sudden breakthroughs. It is not that her prayers were louder, it's that her faith was quieter, steady, sure, unshaken. Trust transformed the way she sees herself. No longer does she identify by what she lost. No longer does she define herself by who left. No longer does she shrink to fit in places too small for her destiny. She realized that her value was never up for debate. Begging once made her forget her worth, but trusting has restored it. Now she knows she was never meant to beg for love because she is love when she is aligned with God. She was never meant to beg for peace because peace is her birthright. She was never meant to beg for purpose because her very existence is proof that she was created with the intention. A woman who trusts God stops asking, who will help me? And starts saying, God is helping me. She stops saying, what if it doesn't happen? And starts saying, it will happen if it's meant to. She stops saying, I don't have enough, and starts saying, God is my source. This shift in language is a shift in power, because words spoken in faith carry authority. When she aligns her tongue with the divine truth, her entire environment begins to respond. Her home, her relationship, her career, her body, everything starts to reflect her trust. Because faith is not just something you feel, it is something you speak, live, and embody. Every woman who trusts God carries a testimony. She can look back at the time she thought she wouldn't survive and smile, because she sees now that even in her breaking, God was building. He was pruning away what could not prosper in her next season. He was teaching her the difference between needing and trusting. Needing says, I can't live without it. Trusting says, I will live better when God decides what I truly need. She realized that something she begged for would have broken her. Some people she prayed to keep would have destroyed her peace. Now she thanks God for unanswered prayers, because she understands that unanswered prayers are often answered in a higher form, protection. And when this understanding matures inside her, she becomes unrecognizable. She no longer carries desperation, she carries discernment. She no longer pleads, she prophesies. She no longer collapses under pressure, she stands firm. Her faith no longer wavers with her circumstances, because it is rooted in revelation. She knows that God's plan for her life is not fragile, it is fixed. No gossip can ruin it. No delay can destroy it. No failure can cancel it. Her trust becomes her armor. Her faith becomes her shield. Her peace becomes her power. To the woman who is tired of waiting, hear this truth. God has not forgotten you. Every unseen moment, every silent tear, every faithful prayer has been recorded. The delay you see is not neglect, it is divine sequencing. God is aligning people, places, and timing. What you think is slow is actually strategic. And when it finally happens, it will not come piece by piece. It will come suddenly, completely, beautifully, because God does not deliver fragments. He delivers fulfillment. Keep trusting, keep believing, keep standing, because at the exact moment you are about to give up, God is preparing your breakthrough. When a woman walks in this level of trust, she becomes a light to others. Her peace becomes contagious. Her faith becomes a mirror for others to see what is possible. People begin to ask her, how are you so calm? And she smiles because she knows calm is the natural byproduct of complete trust. She has built her life on the unshakable foundation of God's faithfulness. And because of that, nothing external can destroy her internal stability. She has learned that begging might move people, but trusting moves heaven. And once heaven moves, nothing on earth can resist. A woman who trusts God lives with expectancy, not anxiety. She wakes up knowing that something good is always being prepared for her. She no longer worries about who left her life or what didn't work out. She wakes up each morning saying, God, I trust you today. That one sentence becomes her anchor. It steadies her emotions. It silences her fears. It aligns her thoughts. She begins her day with faith and ends it with gratitude. And slowly she realizes that this peace, this calm, this strength is what she had been searching for all along. Not another person, not another opportunity, but the deep security of knowing that her life is held firmly in God's hand. And so she no longer begs the world to see her. She let her light speak. She no longer begs to be chosen. She knows she already is. She no longer begs for validation. She knows her worth was settled before the foundation of the earth. She is a woman who walks by faith, led by peace, and sustained by trust. A woman who knows that her greatest weapon is not her tears, it is her surrender. And a woman like that cannot be defeated